15 years ago, I predicted my best friend's death. It all happened so long ago, back when high school was my whole world. I had this friend, a best friend. We were inseparable, always understanding each other in ways I never thought anyone could. He had this effortless way of making everyone feel seen and heard, like you were the most important person in the world when he was with you. I don't think I ever told him how much that meant to me. Looking back, I wonder if he ever knew. At the time, I was dating one of his close friends, and the three of us were often together. It felt like we had a little family, a safe space where we could be ourselves without the pressures of the outside world. That weekend, before Victoria Day, a group of us went to his family's cottage by the lake, excited for a break from school and the endless noise of daily life. The lake was so peaceful that time of year, just beginning to thaw from winter's chill, with the quiet stillness that only spring can bring. It felt like we were stepping into a different world, a place where time stood still and nothing could ever go wrong. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, my friend and I wandered down to the dock to share a smoke and talk. We laughed, reminiscing about silly things, sharing secrets, talking about nothing and everything all at once. I don't know how we got on the subject, but at one point he looked up at the sky, his eyes glinting with a boyish excitement, and said, "One day, on a beautiful starry night, I'd love to take a canoe or small boat out, light one up, and just watch the stars." There was something in the way he said it, so casual and innocent, but it hit me with this deep, overwhelming dread. It was like a chill that ran straight through me, a feeling I couldn't shake. I looked at him, searching his face, trying to understand why those simple words left me so uneasy. I forced a smile, trying to brush off the feeling, and replied, "Just make sure you go out when the water isn't cold." He chuckled, that warm, familiar laugh, and said, "I'm not going swimming." I laughed along, but inside the unease lingered. "I know," I said, "but you never know what could happen. Just ... be cautious." He gave me this reassuring smile, a playful nudge, and we went back to talking and laughing like nothing had happened. But the strange feeling stayed with me, echoing in my mind long after we left the dock that night. The next weekend was Victoria Day, and I went up to another friend's cottage with my boyfriend. It was the perfect escape, tucked away from the world with no Wi-Fi, no cell reception, just us and the endless trees and the open sky. On the first night, as we sat around the fire, a sudden cold settled over me. It was strange because the night hadn't been particularly chilly. I thought I was coming down with something, but no one else seemed to feel it. I remember wrapping myself tighter in my blanket, staring into the fire, feeling that same inexplicable sense of dread I'd felt on the dock. The rest of the weekend passed slowly, and I couldn't shake the feeling of that icy chill. It felt like something had shifted, like there was a shadow cast over everything. Finally, on Monday, as we were driving back and our phones picked up reception, notifications started pouring in. Text after text lit up the screen. I could feel the panic rising in my chest, the words blurring together. But I already knew. I knew before I even read the messages. He was gone. My best friend, my confidant, my partner in laughter and late-night talks. The texts all said the same thing: he'd gone out in the canoe with two friends, and something had gone wrong. The canoe tipped, and he'd managed to swim back with one friend, but as they reached shore, he'd noticed the other friend struggling, sinking into the frigid water. And he did what he always did: he went back, without hesitation, to save him. They both disappeared beneath the waves, their bodies claimed by the cold. They said it was hypothermia, but to me, it felt like something much darker, something I should have been able to stop. The shock of it didn't hit right away. I remember just sitting there in the car, numb, staring at the words as if they couldn't possibly be real. This was my best friend, the person who'd always been there. He couldn't just be gone. It didn't make sense, and yet it was real. He was gone. That chill, that sinking feeling, I'd had the strange urge to warn him. It was all too clear now. I don't know if it was intuition or just a coincidence, but it haunts me to this day. I still feel that chill sometimes, the same one I felt on that night by the fire. And it's like he's right there with me, just out of reach. 15 years have passed, and still, there are nights when I lie awake, replaying every moment of that last weekend at the cottage. I think of the way he laughed when I told him to be cautious, the way his eyes shone as he talked about that dream of watching the stars from the canoe. I wonder if he thought about that as he went under. If he thought about the future he'd never get to see, the starlit nights he'd never get to spend on the lake. I still carry him with me, in the quiet moments, in the way I've learned to protect the people I love. He's in the little things like the songs we used to sing together, or the feeling of cool lake water on a summer's night. And sometimes I feel the weight of guilt. Like I should have done something, should have known how to stop it. But all I can do now is hold his memory close, keep it alive in the hopes that somehow he knows he hasn't been forgotten. I'm sorry, my friend. I wish I could have done more. I wish I could have saved you, could have warned you somehow. But I know, deep down, that he wouldn't want me to carry this guilt. He was the kind of person who lived fully, who loved without fear. He went back, because that was who he was: brave, selfless, loyal to the very end. And though he's gone, that spirit lives on, in my memories, in the stories we shared, and in the quiet moments by the lake where somehow I still feel him near. Rest in peace, my friend. I miss you more than words can say. And I hope, wherever you are, that the stars are just as beautiful as you imagined.